Hello, my name is Russell Warren Kukla, and this video is the first video for a series of videos in which I'll be explaining something very specifically, which is getting to the root of critical thinking, simple thinking instead of complex thinking. And at the very root of that is the consideration of two relative points. Not a single point, but two relative points as a place to begin for critical thinking. As I began to contemplate this first video for these series of videos, I thought about the philosopher Lao Tzu, and I thought that would be a good place to start. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And of course, Lao Tzu lived approximately 500 BC, they say somewhere in there. As I researched that quote by Lao Tzu, I found out a little bit of information that adds to that quote. Although this is a popular form of his quotation, a more correct translation from the original Chinese would be, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath one's feet." So to let you know a little bit about my mindset, I thought would be a good place to start for this first video. And my mindset has much to do about tenaciously digging to get to ground zero about this subject matter. So it's not sure where it all comes from, but basically my birth number, I was born July 22nd, and I know not a whole lot about numerology, but a little bit about numerology, and that 2 plus 2 equals 4, and 4 makes for the 4 points of a solid foundation to build from. So in my mind, I'm always considering digging as deep as I can dig to get to solid ground, not wanting to begin to build and then have to go back and start over or to fix or replace the foundation. So a little example of this would be when I worked as an auto body mechanic in my early days, auto body painter. And the end result was to build and or create a very perfect paint job. And to do that, especially growing up in Wisconsin where there was lots of snow and rust, I had to make sure that the foundation of the car was solid. So with the different rust and things on cars, so basically sandblasting a way to get to a solid surface foundation to build from so that the eventual paint job could be perfect. So very much to dig and dig until I hit that bottom. So as I contemplated that first quote as a beginning of these videos, I also thought about from Buckminster Fuller and getting to the simplicity. Buckminster Fuller, born July 12th, 1895 to July 1st, 1983, an American systems theorist, architect, engineer, author, designer, inventor, and futurist. And what I learned from a simple quote from Buckminster Fuller is it's never a single point, it's always 2 points as a place to begin in consideration of critical thinking. So Buckminster Fuller, his example was, even if we take a clean white sheet of paper, and even if we draw a single point on that clean white sheet of paper, we now have that point, and we have everything that surrounds that point. So we're back once again to the basic of critical thinking is 2 points. So the basic for this first video in this series of video is to say at the end of the day, the information that I have to share is to help develop the sensitivity, one's sensitivity, to begin to look for and find those 2 points. So that's the beginning of this, is to say that the simplicity is that with that critical thinking of the 2 points, nobody will be able to go deeper or closer to ground zero because, again, it's not in consideration of a single point, which 1 is the only thing before 2, but 2, to consider 2 points. So it's very much like if you think of a door has an in and has an out. There's an up, there's a down. There's life, there's death. And so it's basically to contemplate that, but in a more practical way of both for building upon and for creating, to be able to have the information available to be able to look for and to be able to see and understand those 2 points as a beginning of critical thinking. So the information that I have to share from myself and other authors is so those 2 points can always be considered as a starting place to move forward from. So again, this is the beginning, this is the mindset that I work from. And again, going back to Lao Tzu for his quote, "In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep it simple." So when he mentions in dwelling, keep close to the ground, and that's what I'm trying to do in this thinking, is where I'm living, is to keep close to the ground, ground zero, and to keep the thinking simple. And another from Lao Tzu, rather than emphasizing the first step, Lao Tzu regarded action as something that arises naturally from stillness. So there again, the 2 points. Action naturally arises. So action arises from stillness. So how can you have that quote where it combines action along with stillness, and that it arises naturally? So that's back to the 2 points. Action arises naturally from stillness, Lao Tzu. So that's my sharing with you my mindset, and my mindset is to stay as close to ground zero as possible for this critical thinking, simplified thinking. And thank you for this first video, for watching this first video.